Welcome to the Pearls of Wisdom podcast, brought to you by Southern Jewelry News and Jewelry Store Marketers. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Pearls of Wisdom Jewelry podcast. And I'm Guy Panetta with Jewelry Store Marketers. And as always, this time I'm so happy to have Elisa Dillon with me from Southern Jewelry News.
Good morning.
Hey, Elisa, I missed you at RJO's show, but
so missed you too.
Yep, and today we have two amazing guests, Bob Glenn and Tom Young, co-founders of Cargo Hold, and they're here with us. Bob, Tom, thank you for joining us. Yeah, first of all, congratulations on your 50th anniversary. That's such an amazing achievement. How are you guys celebrating your 50th anniversary?
So we're going to have a party in another month or so after it cools off a little. And all year we've been sort of celebrating the fact in the office that we've existed this long.
Survival.
Hey, yes. 50 years you should be. I just want y'all to know, I do have a bottle of champagne. I would like to have it this morning, but y'all aren't with me to share. But I'm bringing this to Atlanta so we can pop the bottle and wish you congratulations. So bringing that to Atlanta. So, 50 years. That's a heck of a compliment. And I've known you guys. I mean, I first met Bob when we were at the Eastern Jewelers Traveler Association. Back in the day, that was the Charlotte Jewelry Show that no longer exists. But so I have a long personal history with these two guys, both which knew my father, who was in the jewelry industry too. So they're just super folks, just down to earth. It doesn't get any better than these guys. So we're just so happy for the big accomplishment of 50 years. What a milestone.
Yeah.
You're so kind to say so. How long have you
pretty
been
much half my life. I started at 16 piercing ears at the mall. And my dad got me that job at the Pierce Steer. And one day he got me a job at the J.C. Penney when they were doing free ear piercing. And I pierced 400 ears one day. And that's how my love for the jewelry industry started, was working retail. And then, of course, I went on. So I've been with the Southern and Mid-America Jewelry News 22 years, but I've been in the industry over 3 decades. So just, about where y'all were. I was just, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're just so happy to have you here. And
that's amazing
guys
story,
got
too.
some great questions we want to dig into. And you guys are definitely have a lot of pearls of wisdom. And we're going to dig into it and maybe give a little tidbits of some pearls of wisdom on your success and what you did. So I'll push it over to Mr. Guy.
In 50 years, in the last 50 years of you guys running the company, what have you learned about doing business together?
Well, the one thing you learn is, having seen a lot of changes in many aspects of not just the industry, but of the culture and the economy, and the shifting of styles and approach to doing business by such a diverse amount of small to very large businesses. So each one has its own story, and it seems like over the last 50 years, you can almost break it down into 5-year increments, because it's about how long it takes for something to flourish and then die. And then you see the coming and going. And that's when you start thinking about consistency and not being pulled this way and that way by the latest trend or the latest.
What were some of those things throughout the years that kind of made you think, should we do that, try that? And then later on, you were thankful that you didn't, and you stayed the course, and you stuck in the lane. You stayed in the lane that you were in. Has there been some things that you were thinking about trying? Thank God you didn't.
Well, the first phenomenal thing that happened to us right off from the kickoff was gold was at $35 an ounce. And Tricky Dicky took us off the standard, and immediately gold went to $100 an ounce. So that was a radical shift. And that was the advent of the Italian manufacturers that were making chains, and they were very basic chains. But I believe somebody could check me on this, but that was the advent of probably the Italian design and ingenuity of creating amazing machines. And so you started to see the chain industry evolve into something that has become extremely sophisticated. But the price of that kicked off an amazing inflation of inventory. And then we hit the oil embargo and went into the Jimmy Carter years and went through the high interest years. And gold, I guess after 10 years, gold was, or after maybe 5 or 6 years, gold was maybe $600 an ounce. So that's how it kicked off for Bob and me, just watching that. And it was a whirlwind of a lot of business being done, especially in Market Hall in Dallas, Texas.
I remember Market Hall in Dallas. That was a big show. Yeah.
Huge show.
Yeah, I bet.
The 1200 aisle was the hottest aisle in the jewelry industry. How ridiculous.
You know, during the early days, business was a lot more closely related to the bazaar or the marketplace and an old city than it is now. It's a lot more sterile today. In those days, for instance, at the marketplace in Dallas, occasionally you would have somebody buy a product and sell it before he could get back to his own booth to have it displayed, because things were happening. And it was certainly, for me at least, a lot more reminiscent of the bazaars and the souks and all the places, the marketplaces that you would see in old cities where gold and silver were sold. The hands-on part of it was very evident then, and personalities were, here, there, and yonder. A lot of people who had idiosyncrasies about strange love for opals and had incredible diverse amounts of gemstones, that sort of thing. Nowadays, it's a little more at arm's length, and people do things over the internet and you memo goods and that sort of thing. It's a little different.
Yeah, well, I think maybe one of the next things that occurred to us that was a phenomenal time in the world of colored stones, as Bob and I had started in the Tucson Gemstone Show in 1977. And then it was just a few, the Dirty Dozen, Bob Shabillion, GNLW, John Patrick's shows, and the main show in the convention center, the retail gem show. But anyway, there was a period of time when a few guys, Hugh Kennedy was one name, Randy Amick might have been another, Carlin Curtis might have been another, Leon Ritzler. These were pioneers in the colored stone business, and they brought a large selection and marketed and word of mouth, and they were intriguing. And they kicked off the phenomenal year in Tucson, and I forget what year that was, but I think it was in the mid 80s. And it was such a fantastic amount of business that was done. Fred Rowe from the House of Onyx wrote in his paper that he saw a stone sell for $50,000 initially in Tucson, and it traded 4 or 5 times, and it ended up going for $500,000. Stories like that, and that word of mouth spread to 42nd Street in New York, and the next year, Tucson doubled in size, and then it doubled again in size. It took off, and it was a crazy thing to watch.
That's
and
phenomenal.
Now I think there are over 40 shows in Tucson. One other thing, the AGTA, I think, had its genesis at the pool, the swimming pool at the Holiday Inn South, where a lot of these dealers were in the Bob Shabillion show. And that's where they started forming a society of integrity. So when you advertised and you promoted your stone, you were actually being truthful about it. And I give AGTA amazing credit for that. That's part of their history. And that I think, has influenced the Jewelers Vigilance Committee and the whole industry. And today, I think we will know that when somebody certifies a colored stone, it'll be as it should be.
Clearly, you guys have still have a great relationship after 50 years. What was it? How did you guys maintain that? How do you guys still want to come together and work together after 50 years?
Well, real quickly, I'll let Bob take off on this. Whenever we did these shows I'm talking about, one year we did about 40. We had some great people working with us. Ron Daves, Kid Strong, Trisha McLaughlin, Kathy Young. And there was one thing, Bob and I, we like to plan ahead for certain things, and we did a lot of driving around. But when the show was over, we always had a cooler with ice and a 6-pack of beer.
Nice. That's a good way to end a show.
A good hamburger.
That forms a nice bond.
Yeah. Well, the people with whom you work are always going to have a large influence on whether or not you enjoy your work, and also whether or not you want to go to work in the morning. And we've been very fortunate to have a good many people along the way with whom it was a pleasure to spend the day with, if you will. And that's made all the difference in the world. I think if it had been just Tom and myself in a room or at a show just by ourselves, we would probably have divorced long ago. But if you have some others around you who can be foils or who help with whatever's going on, it makes a huge difference. And even today, like, we have an incredible group of people today in our office with whom it's really a pleasure to go to work and be with them.
But and then we're talking about the early days. We're back in the 70s and 80s here. So then you come along and you hit the turn of the decade around 1990, and that's when branding really started in the jewelry industry. And I could throw out a lot of names that really did a wonderful job with marketing. And so that's when I think the industry maybe started, the value of a brand started more so than what you're selling something for by the gram. You're selling sterling silver for 65 cents a gram. Well, I can find it for 59 cents a gram. So it took several years for that concept to catch on in the industry. And when you look at it now, every brand has a story, and every story has a brand. So we're fast forward to where we are today, and then the computer tech came along, and our staff, we started to learn tech, and then we had new people come and join us. Diane Bush has been with us now for over 20 years. She's a leader in what she does, and we have so many people on our staff now, and that help us with the with the marketing through the through the use of technology, of course, and websites, and so it's been an amazing evolution. When we first started in business, we were using carbon paper to make copies of letters that we would send overseas, and we would wait 6 to 8 weeks to get a response. And the person who was helping us, our mentor then, was Tasso Arnopoulos. He had retired, and he knew a lot about doing business around the world and import and export. So we were intrigued by doing business with different cultures and different businesses and different cultures. So, and that was that part. And we now we enjoy relationships with many people that we've never met. It's through email, and we do business, and it's just like a handshake in another hemisphere.
That's great. Well, you guys both look like a couple of fun dudes, and so we want to have a little fun with you. And since you guys have been together, working together for 50 years, we wanted to play a little game, see how well you guys know each other.
I could tell him. He's like, what? How well do you know your partner?
Okay, we already starting to laugh.
Yes, it is.
There you go. All right.
It is the best medicine.
We're gonna ask each of you a question about the other. Okay, so Tom, what does Bob like to? What's his go-to lunch? What's his go-to lunch when you guys go out? Yes. Yes. No. What does he like to eat?
A go-to lunch spot.
Well, what would be a typical meal he would order?
What would it be like?
What do I like?
What does Bob like to eat? Well,
Okay.
The question should be, what does Bob not like to eat?
That's true.
Well, as an old friend of ours, Gene Paul, used to say, only thing I ask of my food is that when it's supposed to be hot, then it's hot. And when it's cold, it's cold. But Bob has a few, a little bit more sophisticated criteria than that.
Nice. Perfect.
Right.
Basics are always good.
Okay. All
and
right,
they're
Bob.
done right. And the
For
ingredients
you,
are fresh.
What's Tom's drink of choice?
Well, if it's winter time, he likes to have a scotch, and if it's summer,
Nice.
There you
would
go.
like to have a gin and
Sounds
tonic.
good. We'll know what to have on hand next time, Lisa.
Yes. I have bought many
Okay.
gin and tonics
All right,
for both
yes.
of them at the Atlanta Jewelry Show. Because it's normally summer.
Perfect.
Not a scotch, but I have definitely bought a. Yeah. We've had some gin and tonics together. All right.
right.
What's
It's
your
usually
next
warm.
question, guy? Let's test these guys out, see how well they know
We
each other.
have, and we. It's an area.
Okay, Tom. What's Bob's pet peeve?
Just pick one.
Yes.
What's Bob's pet peeve?
Yes.
Well, not getting to the airport too early.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. We like to be punctual. Maybe the AC being turned
Is
up
that
too
right,
high.
Bob? You don't like the AC blowing too hard on you?
It was going to be that.
Well, it's a dollar drain. You understand?
It's the
Okay,
Scotch
on road
aspect.
trips. You mentioned the road trips and hit the road. Who was the driver? Who was the primary driver between you guys?
Well, we both drive. We try to keep it equal. If I notice that Tom is nodding off, I usually ask him to stop. I don't let him sleep that much at the wheel. And if he's exhibiting evidence of being a little on the sleepy side, I usually take over, and vice versa. Being at the wheel is pretty responsible, because you have to be aware of what's going on, and sometimes it's a long trip, and it can be tiring.
Actually, I'm just curious. You being at the wheel, that brings another question in mind. Throughout the years, did you guys decide together on how to, the different decisions in business? Who was at the wheel throughout the years to guide your company the way it has developed?
Usually it's a collaborative thing. If it's something that you can see coming down the road, to keep the analogy intact, you want to make a reasonable decision that involves all that to understand, to be able to understand what the situation is, and that sort of thing. But it's usually always collaborative.
Well, it's also the value of just when you feel really sure about something is to always run it by somebody else. And we defer a lot to our staff and our co-workers, to listen to their ideas and their observations and try to think things through and think about what will happen 6 months from now if you make this decision. So it's a time thing. I mean, right now we're planning ahead. We plan at least we have at least something cooking that won't come out for 6 months. So and it's almost the jewelry industry in a way. Thank goodness it's not like the fashion industry where you gotta book your orders 8 or 9 months ahead of time or buy that material or whatever it is. But you still, it's a whimsical, capricious market, and you see that today. And this is something else I think has evolved with. You go back 10 or 15 years ago, a jewelry store, independent jewelry store, may have been concerned about his competition 6 miles away on the other side of the river. But today, I mean, independent jewelry stores have competition from just about every lifestyle shop in any town. I mean, they're selling an array of jewelry with, it looks like gold, but it is gold, but is it gold plated? Is it brass gold plated? And then you have the websites. So there's a lot of competition, and you have to, I think, learn to make sure you identify what your product is, so you can distinguish it from that yellow that looks like gold but's not really gold. So I think the diversity in choice in ornaments that are worn that can be called jewelry, it's always in the back of your mind, or it should be.
So I'm just curious. I mean, your company and your brand Southern Gates is very ingrained in the South and South Carolina. What could you ever imagine the company if it wasn't, based in the South? What if it was based out West? Could you ever imagine that, and how that would have changed your future, your path in business?
Oh, I'm sure it would have. Of course, that's a lot of speculation. Our business has been of late sort of centered around a traditional product that relies on traditional ideas of what is beautiful to sell the product. That is to say, designs that reflect old wrought iron gates and balconies in the South. Initially, we thought the name, the cargo hold, would be a good name to sort of give one the idea that our products were coming from all over the world in the hold of a ship here into Charleston, which of course has been for centuries of ship, a harbor for ships that traded lots of things, some good, some bad, admittedly. But the idea of doing business out west or in some other section of the U.S., I guess, would involve using themes that maybe were representative of that area, at least nowadays. Sometimes it's good to be international, but sometimes you can deal and trade on the local, desires of and ideas of what is beautiful. Of course, in the South, and in particularly in South and North Carolina, we have pretty conservative ideas about not only jewelry but other things as well. So, to some extent, that's been helpful for us here. I don't know how it would be out west. It's a wild place out there.
Well, when we did first start, we were in business in a retail store in 73 to about 77, and we were retailing and wholesaling at the same time, and we winnowed it down to jewelry, the products that we were offering. It seemed to be a lot easier to carry around jewelry than it did to carry around straw baskets. So we wanted to consolidate in our carry-ons. So we started doing shows and learning about what sold in different parts of the country. I mean, we did multiple shows in the West and the Southwest and the Midwest. But one of our first specialized product was red coral from Italy. And we were selling it in Albuquerque and Gallup. And my wife, Kathy, and I took a 3-month trip. And we toured through the Southwest. We made 2 circles through the Southwest and did a few shows while we were doing that. So we were getting out of our southern comfort zone and going into different areas and selling different products. And that was very necessary for us. And then the second thing that we specialized in was ripping thread in silk and nylon. And during those days, if you were a beader, you needed to be able to take your cord and put a bead on it and a nice strand of beads, and you needed to be able to knot. You needed to be sophisticated with how you put together jewelry. And so we were selling a lot of silk and nylon thread to a lot of beaders, designers. They were wonderful people. We've made so many strong relationships with them. And if you weren't using silk and nylon, you were probably using tiger tail, which was a 7-strand wire that you were putting your hishi on and your beads on. And you could do it real fast, and you could crimp it, and you could wear it, and it looked pretty good. But as soon as you put it in your purse and it got a bend in it, you would wear it, and you were wearing the newest angle fashion necklace. And so that wasn't necessarily preferable. It was a distraction. And then I don't know who came up and invented it, but the jewelry was a 19-strand, 49-strand revolutionized the beading industry. So therefore, you can make a real that necklaces, et cetera, et cetera. Just think about how many of them are knotted very nicely. You'll see it in pearls, but you don't see it too much else. And that was something that changed big time. And then when that happened, our silk and nylon thread fell off. We still sell it, but it's not as necessary as it used to be.
Well, it was certainly really nice to hear about the history and the company and you guys have a lot of fun. What's in store for you guys? Are you guys going to keep working in the business? How do you see the next few years?
Well, that's a good question. I note that several of your questions have had to do with the future. That's always a challenge, isn't it? The big question is, I guess, how to continue to market the products, because since COVID especially, we've had changes in the marketing of our products, as most industries have. So the internet continues to be relevant, and shows are trying to reinvent how they are relevant to the industry. The changes, though, that are coming are clearly evident. I think most wholesale businesses have to have some sort of internet sales capacity to the general public, as well as to existing wholesale customers. So we've seen that happen with a number of companies, and that probably is something that we'll embrace at some point. The question about how much longer we'll be in business is probably something like, how much longer can we stay healthy and enjoy doing the business and not mind coming to work in the morning, because that's always part of whether or not we want to remain in it. But I think we're going to stay in.
As we say in the South, you'll still keep going, God willing, and the creek don't rise. So I mean, these guys they definitely.
There you go.
Have always strategically looked into their future.
That's it.
With their products, the way they deal with their customers. It's just always a fast moving forward. That you can tell they strategically plan their marketing, and that again, they have surrounded themselves with a staff that's incredible, that lifts them up to be able for them to go out, secure the products, and above all, they're providing a living for all of these people in an industry that they truly have such a passion for. And that's just an incredible 50-year feat. And I'm just so proud of you guys, and proud that you have been one of the longest running partners in Southern and Mid-America Jewelry News. This isn't just a business relationship. Tom and Bob and their staff,
yes.
We're like family. We know about what's going on. When their marketing director left, Katie, I mean, I literally cried tears because she was leaving for a better job, but they did too. They gave her a great send-off. They're family, and we're family. The jewelry industry is a family, and once you get to know that, and I do feel that way about a lot of people, and Tom and Bob, just to see them grow, to keep going 50 years strong. It's just, you don't see that. This is a mom and pop, down to earth type company who have built from ground one, and we should all be inspired by that. So I want to show you too, because this is on the front cover this month. Tell me about this picture.
Yes.
And where you guys were.
We're delighted to be there.
Well, that picture has a little bit more going on to it than just us being there for celebrating our 50th anniversary. That was the night,
her little
the
baby,
that Katie announced that she was going to have Maya, her precious 6-month-old daughter, there. So that had a lot to do with that picture, being that jovial, but being with the staff.
Beautiful.
our co-workers at Bowings Island, which is a delightful place. It was just a festive time, and popping that champagne was a celebration for us. And just to comment a little bit further on that, when we went into business, and we went into business when there was a recession, we saw a few more recessions. We saw downturns, upturns. And so you do business, and if you're in a recession, you figure out how to keep doing business and keep carrying forward. And we have a staff with Liz Nagel and Diane Bush and Megan White and Taylor Smith and David and
Maggie Berry,
and people like Katie who helped us, and Olivia who helped us. It's a team effort. It's always been a team effort, and it will always remain a team effort. And we're very thankful to have all these people that we've been fortunate to work with.
And did you say Ella Klein?
Ella Klein. It's hard sometimes to get it all in, but and then I just want to shout out to Kathy Young, who's been with me and with Bob. She worked with us for 28 years, and she did a lot of marketing for us, and she produced a lot of catalogs. So she's been a big supporter. So she's still part of the staff also.
Amazing. It's really great to read about your history, your success. I could hear about all the amazing staff and people that have helped you get to where you are. We hope to see you around for another 50 years. Yeah.
Good. We appreciate coming on.
Yep.
Being able
you guys
to join
being
you.
Such a great partner with Southern and Mid-America Jewelry News. So it was a real pleasure to have you guys here on the podcast. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Could I say one more thing real quickly? Of all the shows we've done, does SJTA, Southern Jewelers Traveling Association, and the Atlanta Jewelry Show has been like family for us. It is an anchor to windward. We love being there. We love all the vendors, all the exhibitors, and all the buyers. It's one of the greatest shows. It's been in existence, I think, since 1950. Carl Gould was the first president, and he was our neighbor over on Prentice Street. Scott Gould was his son. So I salute the Southern Jewelry Travel.
And just in a few short weeks, we will all be gathering again in Atlanta. So hopefully we'll follow back up and have a visit and pop a bottle of champagne to celebrate your success. They have a beautiful booth in Atlanta. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. Bravo.
It's open and welcoming, and again, they're very smart in how they market and how they welcome people in like family at the shows, so you just feel comfortable. So and I have to say, these Southern gates and this line, it's not just it's not really Southern. They have people in the Midwest that are buying some of these beautiful Southern gates. Yeah. So
does this mean it's over?
All right. Well, we certainly look for you. We hope to see you guys. I hope to meet you in Atlanta. And perfect. I certainly look forward to that. And wow, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you so much
guys
for doing this great interview with us. And,
August issue, hot on press. I don't know when this will actually get it edited out there, please take a look and read about the success of the cargo hold and their beautiful center spread, and find them online, find them at major trade shows, and you got to check them out because they're just hell of a guys to work with. They're fun. I mean, look, they're fun. You won't be disappointed doing business with these guys.
Well, the next time you're talking to Bob, ask him what his last favorite joke is. He's got a repertoire.
We're gonna have to go. We'll have to go into some of those jokes at next time, but.
I think I've heard some of those.
And then ask him about the true story.
Well, this has been super fun.
That's
I knew it would be
amazing.
great to interview you guys as always, but it's just
Very
been
good.
super fun. And we can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy day to sit down and talk to Guy and I. We appreciate you.
Good.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks a lot.
Been
And
a pleasure.
congratulations again. For the listeners, check them out. Check out Southern Jewelry and Mid-America Jewelry News, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. Thanks for listening to the Pearls of Wisdom Jewelry Podcast. For more information about the show, please visit southernjewelrynews.com/podcast, brought to you by Southern Jewelry News and Jewelry Store Marketers. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you can catch the next show. See you then.